look to in order to employ to be biblically faithful, and yet fiscally responsible?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can speak to this and give a little bit of insider perspective on the publishing industry. So I sit on our publishing board at Moody Publishers and our leadership team that ratifies the decisions of the publishing board. So every Tuesday we have a group of people, I think it's about 20 people, who get together and review manuscripts and proposals from potential authors and decide whether or not we want to make offers on those books. And a lot of factors go into whether or not we decide to make an offer on a book. The two primary things I guess you could say are, well, I guess maybe it's three. There are a lot, but if I had to boil it down, is the writing good? Does it fit us as a publisher, like who we are and what we're about? And do we think we can sell this book? Because there are plenty of ideas we see and the writing is good enough, if not great, that we're like, yeah, we like what this person's saying, but we don't really know if we could sell it. Not because they're not famous, but just because, like, are people buying this book? Is this still a need? Is the market flooded with it? There are so many factors. But one of the parts of our discussion that's often the most heated or the longest is around like how well known a person is, because so much today is like, if you have 100,000 followers on every social media platform, you're more likely going to get a lot more money for your book than somebody who has 1,000 followers on every social media platform, naturally. And some may say that's petty and lame and awful. And like in one respect, like, yeah, I get that, especially depending on how those followers were acquired. But let's assume that the person with 100,000 followers on every platform got them legitimately by being an expert in whatever it is they're wanting to write a book about. Well, as a publisher, wanting to publish with them isn't like, I don't see it as like vain or like shallow so much as like they're clearly a trusted voice on this topic, and we could make the financially responsible decision of signing this person because we know that we could sell this book. Whereas like if that same topic only had and the person had 1,000 followers on every platform, like, well, they may be an expert, they might have a degree, but if only 1,000 people or so know them as an expert, do we feel, we're gonna have to invest a lot of money in publishing this book beyond whatever we pay them, printing and all of that. Do we think we could sell enough of this book in order to, like not go under, that kind of thing? And so I think it's not all bad for us in ministry to be looking at numbers of followings. But for us as a publisher, I can only speak for us, not others, but I think others in our space think similarly. It's not a matter of like number of followers so much as a demonstration of expertise and a proof of expertise in the eyes of other people. So we look at as much as a publisher at if an author has published at a number of different outlets and what those outlets are and how frequently. So if there's an author who, yeah, maybe they only have 1,000 Twitter followers, but gosh, they write in these 5 websites that have a significant following pretty regularly, and they're seen as a resident expert by not only those editors at those publishers, at those those magazine publishers or whatever, but also theoretically by the readers there. So regardless of how many followers they have, they're seen as an expert by these reputable institutions and whatever. So I think all of that's to say is it can be really foolish to only look at numbers, but sometimes numbers can be an indicator of healthy fruit. And it's important for us to carry a lot. And we've had a lot of discussions about this over the last few years since I've been at Moody and on the pub board, of like just how to tell what's a healthy following on social media and what's an unhealthy following on social media, as far as like, did they get these things legitimately? How are they conducting themselves online? I mean, I know we've looked at proposals and decided not to proceed because of how people conduct themselves online, even though they might have a ton of followers, because maybe that's how they got those followers to begin with. And so all of these things are an important factor, and we need to not get caught up in numbers, but we also need to not just like shun numbers either. I think it's a matter of recognizing that like not all social media followings are created equally, even if they are the same in number. And we have to do a bit more deeper evaluation and discernment regarding how people get followings and what that really indicates.